When I am feeling a little politically incorrect, however, which actually kind of happens often, I check out John Hawkins' articles at Right Wing News and on townhall.com. And his most recent one is about the Ferguson rioters. And he says there's a dirty little secret that nobody's admitting when it comes to the Ferguson riots. John Hawkins of Right Wing News, welcome back to Smart Life. Good to have you.
It is fantastic to be on with you, Gina.
I like what you wrote because it's what so many times when you write things, it's therapeutic for me, honestly. It's a strange form of therapy, but I just read some of your stuff because what you write is what I'm thinking, but I have a lot of trouble articulating. I love the way you put it. Dirty little secret about the difference between white and black Americans on Ferguson. Go.
Well, I would say that the big secret that most people don't realize is we're almost all on the same page. We all want, if this cop shot Mike Brown and while the guy had his hands up surrendering, now I don't know that that's what happened, but if we did, we want the guy to go to jail. On the other hand, if the cop was justified in shooting him, we don't want him to go to jail. We saw Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton getting pummeled out there. People were saying all kinds of awful things about him. I think that's a good thing. I see the family of Mike Brown out there condemning the looters, which is what I hope all of us want to do. Maybe if we're on the same page about 95% of the things that matter, we're not so far apart on this as we think.
But it's very important for the people who make money off of crises and who, by the way, garner votes and power and therefore more money out of these situations. It's very important for them, isn't it, that we seem completely divided on this, that this seems like a nation divided over Ferguson. That's important. And not to mention the media, who relentlessly covers this same topic over and over again and tries to make it as though there's this great polarity out there.
Well, if you're Jesse Jackson, if you're Al Sharpton, if you're the NAACP, La Raza, the new Black Panthers, on and on and on, all these guys make a living off of racial strife. And when you have people who make a living off of racial grievances and racial strife and turning people against each other, guess what? They're going to keep finding it over and over and over again. And if they can't find it, they're going to create it. And that's what they've done in large part in Ferguson. It's what happened.
And I would add to that news media outlets that cover this over and over again, MSNBC and others who are making a lot of money and getting good ratings for covering this story mercilessly, it seems. One other issue that you address, and this is especially gutsy, you'll cover race issues, and you're obviously not exactly fitting into any of those minority categories. You cover women's issues, and you certainly don't fit in that category either. As the author of a book I'm getting ready to go on tour with, talking all about what women really want, you say there's 5 pieces of evidence that the war on women is over, and guess what? Women won, so can we drop it already? Tell us about that.
Well, absolutely. Nobody ever talks about the things that show, hey, maybe women are doing pretty well in society. When we look at the number of people in colleges, what we find is women are way ahead of men. Isn't that the gateway to making a lot of money? We talk about violence on women, and of course, that's horrible. I mean, I've had friends who've been beaten and raped, and the first thing I want to do as a man is just, beat the hell out of the guys who've done that to them. But how many men, if you look at, when are we going to have a Violence Against Men Act? If 80% of the people who are killed in homicides are men, shouldn't we be worried about them? We can go on and on with these kind of examples because it just depends on what you're looking at. Is it a war on women? Is it a war on men? I don't think there's a war on anybody. I think some people have advantages, some people have disadvantages.
But a lot of people would say to you, John, that there is institutionalized racism. A lot of people would say to you that you don't understand the glass ceiling because you haven't batted your head against it. I would even say, John, I would say this. I call myself the biggest sexist ever. I'm totally anything but a feminist, at least by the 70s standards. But I will say this. I work in an industry that is very dominated by men, and I have definitely seen bigotry against women in my industry. Not where I work today. These people are all perfect, but I'm talking about in the past. I had a manager of a radio station literally look at me and say, I resent that women are in radio, and I would never hire a woman to be in radio. So, John Hawkins, how can you say that women are winning in that situation?
Well, let me give you the flip side of that. Dr. Gina, if you did not look like Dr. Gina, would you have a show? even as talented as you are. No, they would have given some other pretty woman a chance to do it. I've had friends, female friends of mine, who do Fox, who flat out told me, yeah, you can either be like Karl Rove or Mark Levin, or you can be pretty. And they'll give you at least a shot. Now, if you stink, they won't keep you on the air. But think about that. That's a huge equalizer. And I'm not saying that pretty women are just put on the air if they're not any good, but you can get a foot in the door, whereas a man won't be able to get a foot in the door with the same level of talent. I mean, you're incredibly talented and you're beautiful, so you got on the air. But if you weren't as beautiful, would you even have a show?
Well, I want to ask you this too about the institutionalized racism, because I know a lot of people are saying, hey, look at you. You're a white guy. You're born of privilege automatically. My dad, in fact, watched my segment with you last week. You know, my dad's a huge lefty. And he said, that guy's never been dirt poor, and neither have you. And you both said you were dirt poor right there on your show. Can you, as a white man who's been given whatever institutional privilege comes with that, I'm the daughter of a medical professional, two medical professionals, can you and I really relate to people that do come from a completely different background?
Well, when you say a completely different background, I've been poor enough where, for example, I've had to sleep in an elevator overnight one time. I considered sleeping in my car for a couple of months to save up money. I've been poor enough where I've had to go a week eating $10 worth of food, which is basically, back in the day, we had dollar burritos and potatoes. So I do know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like to be able to not pay for a car bill. I know what it's like to have those. So it's not like I'm just coming from a position of privilege. I wish white people got those kind of privileges, because it would be pretty neat if we could just, it's like that old Eddie Murphy skit on Saturday Night Live. We could just walk in the bank and say, can we have $10,000? And they just give it to us. And, yeah, you're white. Here, take it. It doesn't work like that. There is no great, incredible white privilege it's been giving to me. I wish I knew what it would be. I'm sure for every white privilege you came up with, I could probably come up with a black privilege if we're going to go into little weird things and say, hey, this is a privilege of being white or black.
Sounds like a new John Hawkins post, if you ask me. 15 things you hate about politics. Man, that one was therapy for me too, John. I love the things you hate about politics. As someone who's lived inside politics, as the wife of a senator for so many years, and someone who much more enjoys living outside of politics, as I feel like I do now, getting to talk about it rather than be in the middle of it. Tell us your worst peeve about politics.
I think the absolute worst peeve, and this is one that I'm sure you're familiar with as well, we spend so much time talking about trivia. Why is the Senate of the United States worried about the name of the Redskins? We've got a debt that's out of control. We've got ISIS going crazy. We've got and we spend so much time on trivia. And I think that's what countries do, and people do, as a matter of fact. When they get out of control, they can't handle the big things that are wrecking their life or wrecking their country. They immerse themselves in trivia. And I think we do that a lot in our country. I also think that we've gotten so far apart on so many issues that I think it's getting a little dangerous for the country. If you and I would disagree with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton on 30 out of 30 issues, and not only think that our solutions, oh, there we go.
You had a little time there, John, but people will just have to read it. It's at townhall.com, 15 things I hate about politics. John Hawkins, you are a great guy. Thank you for being with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me on, Gina.